California town in the year 1913. A lone star shines brightly overhead. A child enters the world.
Well, Mr. Nixon, it's a fine, healthy boy.
Oh, thank you, Doctor.
Only one thing was remarkable.
What's that?
I've never seen a newborn child with a 5 o'clock shadow. Well, I have to go. Good night. Hello, Tom.
Hello, Doc. Child born okay?
Well, yes, Tom, it was a boy. But only something bothered me. I can't put my finger on it, but I just don't trust that baby.
So it was clear from the very first. This was no ordinary child. We join him in his first attempt at elective office.
All right, class. It is time to elect the blackboard monitor. Now, let us hear the speeches from the candidates. Tommy?
If I'm elected blackboard monitor, I promise to keep the erasers clean and scrub the board every day.
Thank you, Tommy. Now, let's hear from Dickie.
That's Richard, if you please. Thank you, Miss Phillips. And thank you, Tommy. We can all find, of course, much truth in what Tommy has said. Where, then, do we differ? Everyone agrees that we must keep the erasers clean and the blackboard scrubbed. Unfortunately, Tommy has said nothing of those who would raid the chalk supply. We must use all means at our disposal to deal with this terrible menace. I want to see a generation of students free from the threat of chalk thieves. If elected, I promise a 4-day school week. An extra Jewish holiday for everyone, regardless of race, color, or creed.
Richard, please be seated.
Cue the balloons.
Hearings by Senator Sam Ervin's committee kept fresh disclosures on the Watergate scandal coming daily. And one giant question mark hung over the country. Would Nixon be indicted by the feds? But oblivious to all such fears, Nixon went about his job, business as usual. I would say that it's 30 to 1 that I'll be impeached, and 1,000 to 1 that I'll go to jail. And that has absolutely nothing to do with the fact that today I'm sending to Congress a prison reform bill, which provides a 2-bedroom suite with a terrace for any wrongdoer who was at one time the highest official in the land.
Hi. Mr. Cronkite, Mr. Brinkley, it's almost 7 o'clock. You know what that means. Bedtime at the old reporter's home.
Can't we stay up for the nightly news?
This is Walter Cronkite, and I say screw the nightly news. I don't want to see that little turd, Dan Rather, sitting in my chair. I still belong there. I'm better than he ever was or ever will be. I never should have left CBS. They shoved me out on the street. Those ungrateful twits, I'll never forgive them as long as I live. And that's the way it is.
How do you think I feel watching Tom Brokaw? The man makes $7 million a year, and he can't say his else. Chet and I did the whole alphabet for a lousy $65,000.
Well, we're living in the past, David. In our day, we would never have covered the Lewinsky story. The president gets lucky, and they call it news.
It would be news if it happened to me. I haven't had my pipes cleaned since Barbara Walters left NBC. She's another one who can't say her L's, but she didn't have to after what she did. It was fine with me.
Maybe that's where I went wrong. I'd still be on the air if I said, good evening, this is Wah Wah Crane Dyke with the evening news. Thank you, and that's the way it was.
Nixon. I hear that plane a-humming. It must be Air Force One. Sounds like Sparrow laughing, having fun. But I'm stuck in Folsom Prison. I don't know why I came, but that plane keeps a-going on down to Key Biscayne. When I was just a baby, my mama told me, Dick, always be a good boy. Don't mess with politics. But I won my first election back in nursery school. And from that day on, I was breaking all the rules. Silly. I bet there's big men talking and fancy smoke-filled rooms. But I still hear Martha squawking, sealing my doom. And I'm stuck in Folsom Prison. Why was this my fate? You can take this here guitar and shove it up your Watergate. Feeling trapped and desperate to betray on all sides, Nixon attempted a daring and ingenious escape by whittling a gun into a bar of soap. But he was cornered in the prison yard by the water. Dirty screw. Oh, Nixon, this was a mistake, you me. Warden, yada yada, Warden, yada. Nixon, yada yada yourself. This is your last chance. I'll never give up. I'll never give up. I want to escape with honor. Warden, I decree this punch to the down there and shoot him. Hubert, what the hell are you doing up there? Well, Dick, thanks for the inflation caused by all your phases. I have to moonlight as a prison guard. Phase this, phase that. You phased everybody out. Well, Dick, it's time for you to be phased out. What do you say, Ward? Let me get down there and pump a few shots into those jowls. I know this moment would come. I'm ready for you, Hubert, you motor mouth pilot, silly. Come and get me, screw. Humphrey, wait, Humphrey, wait. I don't want you going down there alone. McGovern, you go with Humphrey. This is George McGovern. I believe that killing is wrong. But in this case, I'm willing to make an exception. Wait! Richard, this is Chaplain Billy Graham. Before any bloodshed, and I would not like to see any bloodshed. Bloodshed turns me off. Richard, this is the chaplain speaking. Come and get me, screw. Richard, the chaplain, you idiot. Richard, give up. You escape. You'll just be running all your life, Richard. It's no good, chaplain. I already have been running all my life. Well, Dick, we've all been waiting for this a long time. Okay, men, ready, aim, fire! It's been a terrible mistake. I knew nothing about the planning of this escape. Hold your fire. I was carried out here
pushed out of my cell and carried out piggyback for the other inmates while I was taking a nap. These hostages were planted on top of me. But I'll get to the bottom of this escape, no matter whose cell the investigation may lead to. There'll be no whitewash in Folsom, because I love this prison.
Back in just a moment, but first, this message.
Now. Remember the great sounds of the 50s and the 60s? We're never going to forget that. Remember this one?
This is my last press conference. You're not going to have Dick Nixon to kick around anymore.
And remember this one?
My wife, Pat, has a respectable Republican cloth coat. And we're going to keep checkers. I don't care what they say.
That was over 20 years ago. Hard to believe, isn't it? Well, now I got for you a special offer on his great double album set, Dick Nixon Solid Gold. Solid, man, solid. You can have a collection of all his greatest hit speeches. Now listen, the speeches you listened to when you were kids, the speeches you laughed to, the speeches you cried to, and the speeches you threw up to. Remember this one?
My fellow Americans, I come before you tonight to announce that I am ordering ground troops into Cambodia.
Remember the campus riots that follows that one? Now, yes, now you're going to get that speech and many, many more. This double record set is not available in any store. Order now, and you'll also receive for no additional charge another album classic of such political hits as...
When I returned, Mary Jo and the car were gone.
Yes, that was Ted Kennedy's Catholic Clinic speech. We're never going to forget that one. And on the same album, you're going to get Ed Musket crying in New Hampshire. And Hubert Humphrey's 10 greatest concession speeches. Speeches like this one.
I could see.
And this one.
I could see.
And of course.
I could see.
And the unforgettable one.
I do could see.
And included with every album, a map of Indochina and a pointer. Now just think of the hours of fun you're going to have listening to those speeches and pointing to different places on the map, like Saigon, Da Nang, and My Lai. So brush back your ponytails, slick down your DAs, and stay cool, June. All of this great double album set now, and you'll have it made in the shade.
To get your copy of Dick Nixon's Solid Gold, send your check or money order for $5.95 to the Richard Nixon Defense Fund, P.O. Box 42, San Quentin, California. And now back to our regularly scheduled program.
The election safely won. It looked like the lid would stay on the Watergate caper. But then members of the Nixon mob threatened to blow the whistle to a Washington grand jury. Nixon needed help. On a Tuesday morning, the presidential limousine arrived at a fortress-like family compound on Long Island, where a secret meeting took place.
Why didn't you come to see me before? You had come to see me before. When the scum who did this to your daughter, they wouldn't be suffering this very day.
You don't understand, Godfather. My daughter is fine. I'm the one who's suffering.
Why must you come on the day of my daughter's wedding?
It's very important, my fellow Italian-American. But first, let me congratulate you on your lovely daughter's wedding. Let me just say, mazel tov. And I have brought you this gift.
Oh, nice blender. Look, serve Mr. Nixon some wine.
Yes, Godfather.
Look, how many times have I told you it's not the way to open wine? Man is an animal. Now tell me, why didn't you want to be my friend before? Why didn't you ever...
I was just saying to Pat the other day, we don't get to see enough of the Corleones anymore.
My friend, the stool pigeons in your organization must be silenced. If you leave things to me and my friends, and John Dane III will very quickly become John Dane the Last. Why do you come to see me? What service may I do for you?
I have to get out of the Watergate mess, quickly. So quickly you wouldn't believe it.
Do you want justice?
Not necessarily. Nixon was now a new con at the big house, and he was forced to adjust to the harsh new realities of prison life, which he was learning from a tough taskmaster, Warden Steiger.
Nixon, you're a new fish in here. Let's get acquainted. I'm the warden. Let me explain the rules to you here and now. Follow the rules, we'll get along.
Break the rules, and I can make your life very, very unpleasant.
Now, this prison, the state pays your keep,
And I am your keeper.
Do I make myself perfectly clear? The state gives you 3 meals a day and 1 bath a week, and that includes a shave.
I need more than 1 shave. I need so many shaves you wouldn't believe it.
I believe it. Look at your face. It looks like a dirty rag. Now, you're in prison now. The cushy days are over. Just forget about them. They're behind you. Join the other men in the yard while I get your prison cell assignment. And you better behave yourself. I'm telling you that.
My name is Jack Dodge Balance. You must be the new con. I'm in for burglary, grand theft, and stuffing an old lady in a mailbox. Without any postage. You should be ashamed of yourself. Our postal system... Our postal system is greatly overworked. I have always said that. Why would you do a thing like that to an old lady? I just didn't like the way she was looking at me. The same as I don't like the way you're looking at me right now, with those shifty eyes. I've been in prison 20 years, and I have never seen in 20 years such shifty eyes.
Oh, come on now, boys. Don't fight. We want to make our new fish right at home here. Oh, I don't believe we've been introduced. I'm Paradise. I take my showers on Tuesday.
What are you in for?
I'm not in for anything. I volunteered. I find the atmosphere very stimulating. Come along, Dutch. Let's introduce our new fish around. Richard, I want you to meet Bernie the Knife.
How do you do, Mr. Knife?
Oh, Bernie is delightfully antisocial. Don't you think he's a mass murderer? Isn't that exciting, a mass murderer? He used to tie up all his victims first with nylon stockings. Oh, I just break out in goosebumps when I think about it. Oh, my.
I think we need a nickname for you, too. Everyone's got one.
Yes, what a droll idea. What shall it be?
Well, Nick, you sound kind of educated. You know, one of those college boys. Probably had some schooling. How about if we call you the professor? The professor. It has a certain stature and dignity. I am the professor. Make no mistake about it. I am the professor. I am.
Come on, wake up. Why?
President, I still fall asleep. I think, though, and I'm really, after all.
You can dream. Still the president, Dick. Believe it or not. I'll prove it to you. I'll turn on the radio. You'll hear your name. You'll see.
Don't do that, Pat, please. All the networks are always saying bad things about me. I just can't take it anymore. I wished hard enough, Pat, and I became the president. Maybe if I wished hard enough again, I could maybe have my own radio station. Just think of it, Pat. My own station. My own station. My own station. My 72 WNIX 110% American.
Good morning. This is your announcer, Henry Fonda, with
WNIX on the air. And now here he is, the man who is still your president, believe it or not.
Hail to the chief, Dick Nixon.
Good morning, my fellow Americans, and welcome to the Dick Nixon Show, starring me, the wit from Whittier. Hello, I'm Richard Milhouse. That rhymes with White House, and that's where I'm coming to you, from the White House pool, where I've drained the water, and I'm sitting here in the deep end. First, let's see what the headlines are. Nixon booed again. Well, let me say this about that. Boo, boo. I can boo-boo as well as anyone. I think it's time for the silent majority of this country to stand up and be counted. Sit down, Pat. Thank you, Tricia. And might I add, and of course I will add, because after all I am the president, might I add how neat you look in your three-piece swimsuit. Weather. It's me again with the weather. The climate in the country is not that good. I'll admit that. Something seems to be casting a shadow over the country. Oh, well, weather. And now the portion of the show, my fellow Americans, where people call me on the phone to ask anything that's on their mind. Anybody at all. Anybody with a phone. Oh, it's lighting up like a bulb on a Christmas tree. I'm so excited. Hello, this is your president. Will you identify yourself?
Hello? How are you, Mr. President? This is the actor, George C. Scott.
Well, this is an unexpected pleasure. Mr. Scott, if you only knew, if you could only imagine the influence that your performance as Patton has had on me and my entire family. Why, for weeks at a time, David Eisenhower in his one-star general's helmet, and I in my five-star general's helmet, walked around the White House. And right behind us were Tricia, Pat, and Julie in their Army combat boots.
Well, that is very complimentary of you, Mr. President, and I appreciate it. But I have a confession to make. I'm merely an actor playing a part.
Do you mean to tell me, Mr. Scott, that all those battles, all of those beautiful battles that Pat and I sat through holding hands were merely part of a movie made in Hollywood? That is disappointing.
Mr. President, I just want to ask you one other thing, while I had you on the phone. Did you by any chance see any of my other movies, like, did you see Dr. Strangelove?
No, I haven't seen Dr. Strangelove.
Well, Mr. President, do yourself and everybody else a favor. Don't bother to see it.
Well, that was fun. Trace that call. And now better yet, let's play our telephone game. That's where I surprise some American out there, and believe me, your president has plenty of surprises for you. I surprise them by calling them up and saying hello. What a thrill it's going to be for some American to speak to me, the president. I'll just dial any number in the phone book. Mrs. Herman Ginsburg?
Yes, this is she.
Well, you're on the radio, Mrs. Ginsburg.
What? Oh, I don't believe it. I'm so excited. I'm on the radio.
And Mrs. Ginsburg, do you know whom you're speaking to?
Oh, no. I can't stand it. I'm dying.
This is President Richard Nixon. Installment of my new cartoon character, Lil Hard Hat. Let's love Lil Hard Hat. He and his pals on the construction site were just breaking for lunch, and we see in the picture Lil Hard Hat dropping a steel beam from the 36th floor down on a procession of war protests. Kaplunk, bazoom, kerpow, say the war protesters in their typically poor grammar. And show you. Good shot, Lil Hardhead. No wonder the president has called you to Washington to congratulate you on preserving the dignity of the American way. Hey, girlie, look up here. Show us your bazungi. XC Lil Hardhead in the office of the president. Now let me make one thing perfectly clear. And the president says, Lil Hardhead, anyone who respects the flag the way you do deserves a special honor, and I'm going to honor you. This Tuesday night, you are invited to join Pat and me for bowling. Tune in tomorrow at the same time, boys and girls, and of course, President-elect David Eisenhower, to hear the rest of this fantastic story.
Mr. Camp, excuse me, will you come with us, please? They're waiting. Get the jacket.
Of course not. What are you talking about? Put down that... No, I'm not through yet. I've got to go on. I've got to save America.
You better come. Please.
No, that take me. Please. I used to be a liberal. Believe me, I was. No, that tickles.
The White House. Down on the farm. WNIX. Down on the farm.
Now it's time again for the morning farm report.
Good morning, my fellow Americans. This is your ex-president, soon to be your legend, but now your farmer in residence, here along the banks of the Pedernales. Well, hogs are down, beef is down, grain is down, and let me tell you, I'm down. But Lady Bird is up.
Hi, and how are you?
Bird, what are you doing rattling around so early in the morning?
Beautiful, Lyndon. It's my life's work, and it occupies my every waking hour. I believe for every drop of rain that falls, a flower grows. Flowers, trees, and bushes are beautiful things. Did you ever see an ugly bush?
Bird, do me a favor, will you? Flap your wings and fly away and write another me. Now back to the farm report. Things on the farm today are the same as they are every day. Lonely. No one ever comes by no more. Sure, Cronkite came poking around for a while, asking all kinds of questions. And Spiro dropped in. But it's not the same anymore. You think sitting around here listening to Lady Bird singing happy trails to you all the livelong day is my idea of having a good time? You're crazy. They took my phones away. They're cutting me off from civilization, my fellow Americans. If there's anyone out there listening, do something, please. Well, farmers, thanks to government subsidies, this coming year's gonna be a great one for not growing corn, barley, alfalfa, or any other stuff that comes out of the ground.
Lyndon, we don't do nothing anymore. We just sit around here playing checkers.
Cool it, Bird. Tune in tomorrow at the same time for the morning farm report. I'll be here. I'm always here. To tell you the truth, I ain't got nowhere to go no more. Until then, this is LBJ saying...
salvation. Yes, I said unto you, the soul and its salvation. Now you may ask yourself, and rightly so, what is Dr. Billy Graham doing in my parlor talking to me about my soul and salvation? Hearken unto me, brothers and sisters, because I come unto you to talk not of your soul and salvation, but that of your automobile. Yes, I said unto you, your automobile. I stand before you now and tell you to use LTP oil treatment. Just wet the top of the cap of LTP and add it right to the crankcase of your machine. Oh, let your crankcase runneth over. Let LTP be the salvation of your auto's problem. It goes right to the soul of your machine. Trust me. Trust Billy. Get LTP when I steer you wrong. And tell them he sent you.
For the Sailor's Edge.
And now it's time once again for Face the Country. And your host for Face the Country, Davey Suskind.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is David Suskind. Tonight we have with us on our panel a cross-section of political thought in America as we remembered it this morning. First, but not least, a man who is known to millions of Americans as Mr. Middle of the Road, Richard Milhouse Nixon.
Good evening. It certainly is nice to be here tonight.
Next, a man who may be described and has been described as slightly right of center, Mr. Bill Buckley. Bill, welcome to our show.
Good evening. It certainly is very nice to be here tonight.
And now, representing the cross-section of our rebellious college-aged youths, and there are so many of those around today, but I really think that we have a good representative. Here he is, Davey Eisenhower.
Hiya. Peace.
Thank you so much. You all know each other, and you also know the format of our show. You will be asked questions by members of the audience to which you will have to give an answer. Is that clear?
You mean if I am asked a question, I will answer in a manner that is expected of me. And I always will do what is expected of me. Not only what is expected of me, but what is expected of all Americans.
You generally have the right impression.
In other words, Mrs. Susskind, to paraphrase the President, to assure that we are all engaging in social intercourse, upon entering an arena of agreement, under an harmonious, copacetic understanding, we shall endeavor to present recourse to all queries that may indeed be directed for our attention.
Well, Bill Buckley, what can I say? I wouldn't have, as you know, how shall I put it? You know, well, yeah.
That's easy for you to say.
I see a hand.
My question is for the kingfish, the dude there in the blue suit, man.
The who?
The chief, yeah, the cat there in the blue suit.
Well, I can answer that very simply.
Hey, Chief, let me answer the question first, baby.
I'm terribly sorry. Excuse me.
Here I want to know, see, man, but that Spiro Agnew dude, he rapping around with all that funky jive. What I want to know is he blowing his own mind, or did you just tell him where his head is at and say, go, baby, rock on, I believe?
If I can, I would like to have an interpreter for that man's question.
I believe he wishes to be informed as to whether or not Uncle Spiro speaks for himself or for you.
Neither one. Spiro is speaking for Martha Mitchell. Everyone knows that my philosophy, the philosophy of Richard Nixon, is clearly expressed daily in newspapers throughout the country.
You mean, of course, conservative editorials?
No, in the Nancy and Sluggo strip. Politically, I'm right of Nancy, but left of Sluggo.
Golly, isn't anyone going to ask
ask me a question? I think I know an answer.
Is there a question for Master Eisenhower?
Yes. How does it feel to be married to Julie and be living in the shadow of a father-in-law who's president of the nation?
Well, I don't mind it. After all, we must remember come 5 o'clock, President Nixon has a shadow of his own to live under. I mean...
What was that?
Not, oh, boy.
What was that he just said?
We interrupt this program to bring you a special message from the man who is just a heartbeat away from being the head of our station. My fellow Americans, Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, and she sells seashells by the seashore. Well, I guess you know who this is. Beware. There are discordant sounds in this land of ours. These sounds are the clear, cold, clarion cries of a clique of clattering congressmen, the fulminations of those frogmen of futility fraught with a fever of fear and frustration. Don't heed the muddled, meaningless mutterings of this maladjusted minority. You know as well as I that they're nothing more than peculiar, petulant, pernicious prophets living in Pittsburgh. Thank you.
I have the report on Operation Intercept, Mr. President. It's a huge success.
Then you've stopped the flow of marijuana.
Completely. Tourist traffic hasn't moved in days. The President of Mexico is threatening to break off diplomatic relations. Not only that, we seized 3 joints.
Joints. Now, let me understand that. Now, what are joints?
You gotta be kidding, sir.
Jones, I never kid. I have a wonderful sense of humor, and I tell hilarious jokes, but I never kid. Now, what is a joint?
Joint, sir, is a marijuana cigarette.
I always thought they were called roofers.
Well, sir, here are the 3 roofers we confiscated. They retail for about 50 cents a piece.
Jones, let me say this. If I gave you 50 cents...
Sir, I brought these roofers with me because the department thought it would be a good idea if you tried one before you drafted your drug bill. We felt that you might have more insight into the problem if you turned on.
Turned on whom?
Well, turning on means to get high.
I am hip. Now, let's have one of those joints, baby.
Here.
That's good.
Sir, you're not supposed to eat. You smoke it.
I've already swallowed it. Give me another one.
All right. Here, now, sir, when I light it, you're supposed to inhale like this. And you hold the smoke in your lungs as long as possible.
Now, let's go, Jones. I'm getting up close.
You mean up tight?
Whatever. Come on. Light my fire.
There we go.
I swallowed that one, too.
Here's another one, sir. It's already lit. Now, how do you feel, sir?
I feel wonderful. This is heavy grass. It must be Acapulco Gold. Jones, I believe I'm beginning to hallucinate.
married on Dr. Pepper.
Tell me, sir, what do you see?
Well, it's beautiful, Jones. I see spacious skies and fruited plains. And amber waves of grain. Wait a minute. Now I see colors. Colors!
Red, white, and blue, sir?
No. I see brown. Terrible, depressing brown. I see Pat Brown. And he's winning. He's going to be the governor of California.
Are you all right, sir?
Jones, I think I'm having a bum voyage.
Just relax, sir. I'm here with you.
Wait a second. Everything's changed. Now I'm in a big house, in a big office.
That's right, sir. You're right here, where you've always wanted to be, and you're in charge.
You mean?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Then I made it. I actually made it at last. I'm governor of California.
Despite Nixon's confidence, it looked like it was going to be a year of the long shot. Nixon was called before a federal grand jury to answer some questions. Entering the courtroom, Richard Nixon was himself bugged by one reporter he did not want to talk to.
This is Howard Cosell reporting. Mr. Nixon, just a few words, please. You've been counted out before in 60 and 62, but you've always managed to resuscitate yourself. But today you face a most serious crisis, probably the most serious crisis in the history of your career. Go away, Howard. Go away. Ladies and gentlemen, the word impeachment. The man Richard Milhouse Nixon.
The word obnoxious. The man Howard Cosell.
Well, fans, you've heard the spunk left in this game fighter. He's entering the courtroom. Now, back to the action.
Order in the court! Order in the court! Quiet or I'll clear the room. Bailiff, call the next witness.
Rich Nixon, please take the stand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Well?
I'm thinking. Mr. Perry Mason, will you please begin the cross-examination?
Mr. Nixon, did you have any prior knowledge of the Watergate burglary?
I love America.
Mr. Nixon, did you order the Watergate bugging?
I brought peace to Vietnam. I went to China. I went to Russia.
Isn't it true that you not only ordered, but planned and participated in the Watergate bugging?
No, I am not now, nor have I ever been mechanically inclined.
Mr. Nixon, one of the men who attempted the Watergate break-in, brushed against the wall as he fled, leaving a jowl print which her police lab has been able to make into a mold. I ask you now if you can identify this jowl.
I have never seen a jowl like that in my life. That's one of the ugliest jowls I have ever seen.
And I don't suppose you have any objection to trying the jowl on?
No, please no.
Isn't it true, Mr. Nixon, that you hate Democrats? Isn't it true that you've always hated Democrats? Isn't it true that as a young girl, your wife Pat was bothered by a Democrat who attempted to force her to change her voter registration in the backseat of a Buick? Isn't it true? Isn't it true that you do anything to keep a Democrat out of the White House? Isn't it true?
All right, I admit it. I'll tell everything. Just get the goddamn jowl off my head. That's better. It's true. I did it. I had to do it. I'd do it again. I had to stop the Democrats. They're all a bunch of pinkos. Muskie was a Democrat. You didn't know that. So was McGovern and Joe Stalin, too. They plotted against me. They fought me at every turn. I tried to reason with them, but they didn't listen to me. They had the key to the food locker and the strawberries, all my staff. Ehrlichman, Haldeman, Dean. Dean had more than his share of strawberries. He'd Cool Whip on top of it. I knew it, but I tried to fight them. They didn't listen to me.